Getting great sounding recordings at home on a budget. I've built an entire online school to teach people how to do this, and a big part of that is getting software that makes this easy to do without having to be some kind of freak engineering genius. Well, one company that makes software that is all over those lessons and that I use constantly has just released something new, and I want to show it to you guys. This is Sonible's Learn Bundle, and they combine 5 different plugins that use their learning algorithms to get the sonic results you want with just a couple of clicks. The previous smart software already made my life much better, making compression limiting and more pretty much dummy proof. Let's get to the desk and see what this new software's got. Okay, guys, we're at the desk here, and I've got a song loaded up. It's called Unbreakable. It's going to be an upcoming single of mine. It's more kind of in a metal genre, and the verse here's more of a backed off portion of it. It gets softer there. And I have the first of the plugins I want to show you in the bundle, which we're kind of working backwards. I'm working with the one that goes in the mastering chain that we would use last, but I want to show this one first. And this is the limiter. And you can use this on a mix to make sure that your maximum volumes aren't going to be too high, clipping, distorting. They're going to be correct for whatever platform you're going to release it on, tape, vinyl if you're doing that, streaming services and whatnot. It's also going to add a little bit of gain to it, so it's not going to be too loud, it's not going to be too soft. That's what you're looking for, is to fit right in with what's on all the professional mixes you're next to. So I'm going to bypass it for a second here. All of the other plugins are being used right now. This is a good mix, and it's close to being ready without the limiter even.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger.
Okay, now, when I want to get all those levels correct, I'm going to back up into a little bit of a louder portion of the song. I'll take this off a bypass and show you how you use it, even though I had it set already. You hit this record button here, and then just play the song.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie.
Okay, you can see there, it added a little bit of gain to it. It's shaping transients, saturation, and resonances. In this case, it didn't have to do anything with the bass because the bass is rich and full already on that. And you can see you can select a few different, it's going to do like 3 different takes on it, and you can apply those. And then if you want to, you can go into advanced mode over here. You can see where I can add gain. I can change what it's limited to, although I wouldn't normally mess with that. It shows you the different loudness levels. Negative 9.8 LUFS is right on point for something like Spotify where you want to put it. So let me just mess with these knobs down here a little bit so you can see. Knobs? Are they knobs? It's virtual stuff. I don't know.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war with my heart and mind. A ghost to myself, deep in the well. I tried to break away from who I've always been.
Okay, you can see some of it there, like when I hit the resonances, it was very subtle, it's hard to hear, may not apply as much to this mix. When I boosted up the bass control, you could really hear it, it got way too boomy. Boosting up the saturation, kind of glues things together more, but overdoing it, it gets very middle kind of focused and too loud. And the transients, like the cymbals and harmonic elements of the guitar and whatnot, you can add richness to that, which this mix doesn't need much of. So again, I'm going to just run a piece here and bypass it.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a...
It's just that little bit. And that little bit is so important, that little bit of shaping at the end, that extra couple of % at the end of your mix. You know, learning something like with anything, getting the first 90 to 95% of the way there doesn't take super long. You can get pretty good at that. And then getting that last 5% to go from really good to great is really where the hard work happens. And plugins like this, where a lot of that stuff has been done by the engineers who put that extra time in for the 5% and created the algorithms, give you the opportunity to take good mixes and make them great and do it without having to spend all that time becoming an engineering genius. Now, there's one other really cool feature of this that I want to show you, but first, a little side note. Now, I want to take a moment here just for an aside. We have a program, Recording for the Rest of Us. It's on school.com. I'll give you the links down here. here where it's a whole community and a ton of lessons on how to get good recordings on a budget under $1,000 worth of gear. And this stuff fits into it wonderfully because this entire bundle is a lot of what you need in the studio, and they've got it on special right now for $49. I cannot believe the value of this thing. I know I sound like a commercial, but $49 for some plugins that I would pay more than that for each one in the bundle. And for members of Recording for the Rest of Us, it's at 40% off. The guys at Sonible are really cool. They're offering that discount to members of the Recording for the Rest of Us program. Now, if you notice up here, I have selected metal. You have all the different styles of music that it has algorithms based around so that it will limit them correctly. And look at this load reference track. I absolutely love that. I can take a track, say I'm doing a song and I want it to be kind of fitting in and of the same volume and loudness of, like, say, Rage Against the Machine or something. I can load the reference track in. It'll analyze that and match what I'm doing to that. It's a brilliant feature. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now we're going over to the second part of the plugins, which is the compressor. And I'm on the vocal bus here. And obviously vocals are the kind of thing where it can get really soft, it can get really loud, and it's hard to control. You can ride faders and you can use compression, but you have to be careful with the compression because you can hear it. It kind of mashes the voice, and it takes a lot of practice and knowledge to get good with the compressor and get what you need for vocals. Or again, a tool like this can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Let me just show you the vocal with it on and with it bypassed.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war.
It's subtle, but you can hear when I bypass it, the vocal disappears a little bit. It gives it just enough of that meat and presence that you can hear it over the pad of the music. Now, again, it was applied the same way. I just hit the record button through the vocal section and it listened through it. If you've got a song where there's a lot of dynamics in the vocals, you might pick a spot where it goes soft and then very loud. Also, you're going to be doing it on individual tracks as well, but this is on the vocal bus. I always sum it all together and mix the vocals or affect the final vocals as a conglomerate on the bus. Anyway, now as with all other plugins, there's an advanced mode if I want to mess with the settings myself. In this case, it got it perfect. I don't need to. I can change over here from the three different ranges that it selects.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie.
In most cases, when I'm using the software, the middle selection is right, but every so often, one of the other ones, you listen to it, test it, and you feel like it fits your mix better. So you can see there's a drop down here, just like I showed you on the limiter, and you can pick what it is. The algorithm is based on what you're going to be compressing, and vocals low, vocals high. In this instance, I don't think that means low and high voices. I think it's as far as loud and soft. I actually have to check on that, but in this case, it's kind of a baritone-ish kind of voice, and he's singing softly most of the song, so I did go with vocals low. So pretty straightforward. Not a ton that needs to be said about this because that's the whole point of it. This stuff makes it really easy, and it's easy to use. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, we're still in the vocal bus here, and now we're looking at their EQ, which is also based on all of the different things that you can select with algorithms to match. And I find that combining channel strips and the EQ is a beautiful way to make sure every track is carved out just perfectly so they fit together like puzzle pieces, and you get a mix that isn't mush, where everything's clear and present and at the right volumes. So let me solo the vocal bus here, and then you can hear it engaged and disengaged.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie.
Hear how the body of it fades a little bit, and the high mids kind of come up just a little bit, and then it really punches through a metal type of mix like this where you have a lot going on beneath it. Let me do it unsoloed now.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a
Again, it's very subtle. It's that extra 5% or so where it's making it sit in the mix beautifully. And I love how they label these so you can see a representation of what it is that you're affecting.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war with my heart and mind. A ghost to myself. Tried to break away from who I've always been.
It's nice too that they have it on a line here, so you can kind of go back to neutral where it was if you want to experiment with it. And if you go to the advanced mode here, it still shows you up here, but it ends up giving you more controls, and it starts to look a little bit like a Fab Filter kind of EQ. Very powerful here. And again, like with all of these, you have the 3 different selections for the variations on the algorithm, what it picked, and as almost always, neutral is perfectly fine. Now, you have the drop down. Again, you can apply this all over the place. I actually have it applied to the drums as well. I find that the drums, when I'm using a certain kit and easy drummer, the cymbals are a little bit too present. The algorithm saw exactly what I was hearing in my head. You can see I did the listen, and then it just kind of scoops just over here at the cymbals, just subtly, and added a little bit of punch to the bass as well. There are things that are so subtle that you may not notice until you take it to other systems to listen on, especially. They call that translating, by the way. Maybe a mix sounds good in your headphones or on monitors, and you put it in the car, you bring it over to somebody's house, and it sounds a little bit weird. And a lot of these algorithm shaping kind of tools will grab things that you might not even hear on your own speakers and will catch later on a different set of speakers. That's going to help with making your mixes translate tremendously. All right, let's move on to number 4 out of 5. All right, I've done the listen to a vocal track here, to the verse vocal that you've been listening to, and there's a lot of effect on this track already from, I put a delay on it. I wanted a very rich kind of feedback to delay that you can hear, but it's also, without a little bit of verb on it, it sounds a little bit odd. I'll show you.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie.
It's right there in your face, and in a mix, it's going to sound a little bit weird. So I had it listen, and I had it choose a reverb.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger.
Now he's in a bit of a room there. And now I went with what it picked, other than I went to a different mode here. There are several modes that you can pick.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war.
So I ended up going with that one. Notice in this case, I did use a different one of the 3 here that I can select from the algorithm choices. But I do want to show you some of the other stuff that you can do. This is one you're probably going to play with more to taste. That is these settings over here on the left.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war with my heart and mind. A ghost to myself, deep in the well. I tried to break away from who I've always been. What I thought was a curse was with.
Might be a little bit difficult if you don't have headphones on to hear some of that. It's a bit subtle, but it's fantastic, the range of different things you can do with this reverb. And I'm starting to sound like a commercial, I get it, but I'm really stoked about this, and I can't believe for the price. This reverb does so much that I would use it as my main reverb plugin. I wouldn't even need to use the Learn if I didn't want to, and I'm just shaping some reverbs. They're so flexible. So in the mix.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war with my heart and mind. A ghost to myself, deep in the well.
Hear how when it comes in, when it's off, it just sounds a little bit weird and cheap. And then when it comes in, it's just that subtle little change in the voice that makes it sound much more professional in the mix. So it's a great reverb plugin, and you can use the algorithm to kind of get you close to where you want to be with it and not try to kind of overuse reverb, which is something that we all commonly do, especially when we're first starting to mix. We overuse the heck out of reverb. So I would say use the algorithm as your starting point, and the amount that it wants to put in the mix, especially, and then you can really hone in on the correct use of reverb rather than just saturating everything with it. Okay, let's move on to the last one, which is a really pro top end kind of plugin. Okay, we have Learn Unmask here, and what unmasking is something that you use. It's a little bit more complicated. You have to do this on 2 tracks. I have to take, in this instance, I have the bass drum and the bass guitar linked with each other. So on the drums over here, you see I'm sending the signal And I'll have to, this would be a separate lesson to show you how to do this, but I just want to show you the concept. I'm sending the signal over to the bass track. And what I want out of this is I want the bass guitar, when the bass drum hits, to just slightly duck just for that moment that the bass drum is hitting. So it's not covering up the bass drum too much and I'm having problems. You can see when you don't do something like that and you're trying to hear both clearly, you'll get into this fight where you're raising them both and you get a mushy mix. So pay attention to the bass drum and the bass especially.
Used to see my reflection in a different light. Used to be a total stranger, living a lie. I was in a war with my heart and mind, a ghost to myself.
So it's slightly ducking the bass there. Again, very subtle. This is that 5% difference between really good and great or good and really good. And it's allowing that bass drum kick, the snap of it and the boom of it to pop through and not be competing with the bass guitar. Now you have some ways to listen here to see what it's doing. Let me just solo the drums and the bass that are happening. There, when you hit the duck headphones and listen to what it's ducking, you can hear that tiny bit of signal that it's pulling out. If really hard to hear unless you're listening in headphones. So again, this is a very subtle, high-end kind of thing, but it becomes very important, and you can use it when you have things that are competing with each other at certain moments that you can't seem to control. A very important aspect of getting a great mix. All right, I was trying really hard not to sound like a commercial for this stuff because they did send it to me, but as always with these things, if I don't like a piece of software or hardware that people want me to review, I send it back. I never make the video, and this is something that I am super excited about because it's so damn good. And again, the price is just for a limited time, and if you want to get 40% off on it and get a whole bunch of lessons on how to do great recordings at home on a budget, consider checking out my school platform. You might really enjoy that. And as always, guys, until next time, keep making great music.